Well, hello and welcome to this week's edition of the City Update. I'm your host, Mark Aaron, Multimedia Design Manager for the City of Danville. On this week's episode, I have with me Mark Adelman, who's our Director of Transportation for the City of Danville. He heads up our Mass Transit Division and also the airport as well. And on today's show, we're here at the Transportation Transfer Center right here on Spring Street to talk about some changes to our fixed route service. And we're going to talk to Mark about those changes today. And a lot of that coming because ridership is really growing in our mass transit operations here in the city of Danville. And Mark, I appreciate you taking the time to join us today.
My pleasure.
And let's talk a little bit about that increased ridership. I know you've got some figures. I think over the last decade we've seen about a 25% increase.
Correct. Over the last 10 years we've seen a significant increase in ridership, over 25%, and we've also, during that time frame, we've extended our routes to serve new locations like Coleman Marketplace, Social Security at Market Square. And we've also, during this time frame, extended the routes to provide more frequent service to existing locations that we were serving previously, like going out to Carter's store from Edgewood Drive, that section where we would only go out maybe 10 or 12 times a day. Now we're doing it 17 runs. And with the proposed changes, we'll be doing that even more frequently.
Right. Well, let's give our viewers just a I guess 30,000 feet view of the mass transit operation. How many buses do we have on the roads here in the city of Danville on a daily basis, and how many routes here in our community?
Okay. Well, we have 11 different routes. We have 19 buses in our fleet. That includes spare vehicles. Typically on a peak day for fixed route, we have 6 vehicles in service. The majority of the day for fixed route, we only have 5. But we also operate demand response service, the reserve ride operation, senior transportation, and our handy van service. Yeah. And so at any one time, we might have up to 15 vehicles in service at one time.
And you talk about fixed route service, and that's kind of what we're going to be focusing on today's show. How many fixed routes do we have here in the city?
We do have 11 different routes. Some are duplicates. Yeah. Different bus runs are completing the same service, but they're individually named different routes.
And behind us here is your transfer center. And for our viewers who may not be familiar with the system, say I'm at Nordan Shopping Center and I want to go to the mall, for example. I have to make the trip down here to the transfer center because I have to get on a different bus that takes me to the mall. Is that right?
That's correct. Our service is provided in such a way that in many cases you don't have to transfer because a bus run completes 2 different routes. So It's very possible that you could get on a bus and without having to transfer and take you to your final destination. But in the case of being served at Nordan and wanting to go to Walmart, you would require a transfer. So when you board the bus at Nordan, you'd ask the driver for a transfer. When you arrive at the transfer center here, you would get off from a North Main bus or a 3rd Avenue Nordan bus, and then transfer to a Riverside bus, either number 2 or number 5. And it takes approximately from Nordan to Walmart about 40 minutes.
And the cost to utilize the service here in the city of Danville, very affordable.
Correct. We haven't raised the fares for 20 years now, and the base fare is $1. And during the morning, if you're a senior or a person with disability, then the fare is 50 cents. So it's very, very affordable, yes.
Well, let's talk a little bit about one of the main reasons why we'll have you on today's show, and that's with the fixed route service and expanding some of the times. And let's talk a little bit about that because you're going to be changing up the route times a little bit. So for our viewers who utilize the service on a regular basis, August 1st, you're going to need to get a new route schedules guide because that's going to detail all of that for you. And you can also log on to our website for any of our viewers who have web access, danvilleva.gov, and they can log on to danvilletransit.com to get that as well. But let's talk about the fixed route service and offering some more stops, and it'll be changing when they leave the hub as well, right?
Correct. Over the last several years, whenever we've completed a planning study, we've surveyed passengers and asked them what they like and what they'd like to see improvements with the transit system. And consistently, passengers have identified that they feel like the bus service runs late often. During the first week of the month when ridership is high, and also during the afternoon. And to address this situation, because of the increased ridership that we've seen, which increases boarding and disembarking time and extending the routes, that we have been challenged, especially in the afternoon, with keeping the buses on schedule. So in trying to strike a balance, we've added either 5 or 10 minutes to certain run times in the afternoon. And as a result, when you add time, the departure times from the hub will change in the afternoon. So we really encourage passengers to get a new route and schedule guide. They're at the printer now. They should be available the last week in July. And notices are on the windows at the transfer center right now, which identifies when they're leaving. But drivers will be trained to inform passengers of new transfer activity requirement that will occur just once during the day. But we feel like we fine-tuned this schedule and just tweaked it to help with service reliability so passengers can plan more effectively when using the service.
And also a change to the number 6 route heading
That's
out
correct.
to the east side of Danville. Can you talk about that?
Yes. What we've done by adding some additional time, we've afforded us the opportunity to extend our number 6 Glenwood route, so that instead of terminating at Kentech Road 729, now we're going to be able to go out in the afternoon and the morning to serve Airside Industrial Park as well as IKEA Industry.
Right.
So that's a unique change as well, and we look forward to having that opportunity to serve passengers to those industrial parks.
Great. Well, again, if you need more information, DanvilleTransit.com, or you can also get a new guide. And where can they pick up those guides?
Either from the bus driver. The bus drivers will have it, and definitely here at the transfer center. And if they're out of town or they're not able to get one from the transfer center or a driver soon, give us a call. We'll be glad to mail you one.
Very good. And again, all those times of when the buses will be leaving the transfer center are posted on the windows here, so you can't miss it. There's plenty of opportunities for you to learn this new route schedule. And again, as Mark mentioned, because of the increased ridership, we think this is going to increase reliability and just be a plus for the transit center here in the city of Danville. And Mark, I know we're going to take a quick break. When we come back from break, I know we've got some new exciting things for Reserve a Ride.
Correct.
And also for our handy van service as well, right?
That's correct.
And that'll be taken. Will that start August 1st, or is that coming up in this fiscal year?
Right now we're planning for it to go into effect towards the end of August.
Okay, very good. Well, stay tuned. When we come back from break, we'll touch on those topics and a lot more with Mark Adelman, our Director of Transportation here for the City of Danville.
Ballerina.
Sometimes all it takes to be a dad is remembering how to be a kid again. Take time to be a dad today.
Well, welcome back to this week's edition of the City Update. I'm your host, Mark Aaron, Multimedia Design Manager for the City of Danville. Joining me this week, my guest is Mark Adelman, who's our Director of Transportation for the City of Danville. Heads up our mass transit operations and also our airport operations out on 58 East. And talking with Mark in the first half of the show, some changes to our fixed route service times will go into effect on August the 1st. And again, if you'd like more information about these time changes, you can log on to DanvilleTransit.com. Or you can link it straight from the city's website, danvilleva.gov. And again, there's a lot of route guides that you can pick up here at the transfer center. The times are posted on the window. But Mark, I know you've taken an additional step in posting the times at different bus stops throughout the city, right?
That's correct. We have produced 45 different bus stop signs that include schedule information that's unique to that location. So we really want to encourage passengers when they're boarding, they're standing at a bus stop, to take a look at that sign, that schedule information, so they're more aware of the changes that are going to go into effect just for the afternoon schedule.
Right. And again, changes will go into effect on August the 1st. And all of this really because of the increased ridership. As Mark mentioned in the first half of the show, over the last decade, we've seen over a 25% increase in ridership in our transit operations here in the city of Danville, and think this will make everything go a little smoother here in the city of Danville.
We hope so. We're planning for it, and we're going to be doing a lot of training with drivers the last week in July, and so that we can provide the best customer service possible.
And not only does Mark provide a fixed route service here in the community, also we've talked about this on previous shows, is a Reserve a Ride program. Very beneficial. I know a lot of people take advantage of this, and very low cost involved. But for our viewers who may not realize what Reserve a Ride is, can you just explain that program briefly before we talk about some of the upgrades for the program?
Sure. The Reserve a Ride service operates from 4 a.m. to 1 a.m. and the general public can use it. There's no special conditions to use the operation. You just make a reservation prior day by 11, and we'll transport you from any location in Danville to your destination. And then the cost is $4 for a one-way trip, 4 a.m. to 1 a.m. And it affords us the flexibility to offer service during off-peak hours like early morning. And actually our early morning Reserve Ride service is our busiest because people are using it to go to work so much.
Right.
But a number of employees throughout the city of Danville are using this operation.
Yeah, I know that ridership has really grown over the years. And then looking towards the end of August, there's going to be some changes in the way, or making it easier to reserve a ride, right?
Well, the operation for our handy van, Reserve a Ride, and senior transportation is going to change significantly through federal and state grant funds. We'll be implementing new software modules that will, for customer service purposes, we'll be able to notify passengers the night before through an automated phone system that will tell them what their scheduled pickup time will be. Because one of the unique aspects of the Reserve Ride operation is you call to schedule a trip, but when you call, we're not able to tell you the exact time that you'll be boarding. And what we're currently doing is asking passengers to call the night before to get their scheduled pickup time. Now with this new software module that will be in place towards the end of August, passengers will be notified. They won't have to call in. They'll know, and it's an interactive so that they can cancel the trip through the system as well. All the buses that are used for our demand response service will also include tablets. This will help with our tracking as well as dispatch. We'll know in real time where our drivers are with their schedule. It will be posted in the monitor, so our administrative specialists and supervisors will be aware of how to schedule same-day trips for return trips from medical appointments. Right. Different trip activities we'll be able to schedule more effectively.
Well, that's great. And you mentioned this will be effective for Reserve Ride, but also Handy Van. Can you explain just about that Handy Van process?
The Handy Van is referred to as a paratransit operation that complements our fixed route service that operates like the fixed route service from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. It's exclusively for persons that are certified, that are persons with disabilities, that have difficulty using the fixed route service. Okay. The fare is $2, a one-way trip. We haven't raised that fare for several years as well. And passengers need to call in prior day to reserve service. It's very similar to the Reserve a Ride, however, an application form is required, and a healthcare professional must also complete an application for the passenger.
Right. Very good. Great explanation there, Mark. And all of these changes that are taking place, I know you get public input all the time, but before these changes ever go into effect, you always have public information sessions for individuals to come and share their ideas. I know you're receiving calls year-round about the services, the pluses and the minuses, to adjust with these changes. But it is very important that the public understand that they have the opportunity to share their views with you in the transit system on any changes, right?
That's correct. We really would appreciate as much input as we can. I feel through the survey responses that we've received through our planning studies just recently this past year, as well as 6 years prior, what's consistently been demonstrated or indicated by passengers is they would like to see the service schedule be more reliable so they can plan more effectively. And while this is a big change for our afternoon schedule, I think it's needed, and I hope it will help our customers use our service more effectively.
Very good. And again, those changes go into effect August the 1st. Again, you can get your new rider guide right here at the Transfer Center, or again, you can call Mark out at the airport. They'll be glad to get you one. You can stop by there to pick one up. Again, they've got 45 signs that are being installed at different bus stops to have the list of those time changes. They're also listed here at the transfer station. So go ahead and familiarize yourself with those changes. They do go into effect on August the 1st. And again, all this because of the increased ridership we're seeing here in the city of Danville, which is a great thing, and it's great to hear them to Mark talk about the rates. They haven't changed in how many years?
Fixed route, 20 years.
20 years. Fixed route service has not changed, which is a great thing for our citizens here in the city of Danville. Well, Mark, I appreciate you taking the time to join us today. It's great to talk about mass transit. We're usually having you on talking about the airport progress, but great to talk about mass transit on today's show, and hopefully the changes and everything will go smooth for you guys.
Thank you very much.
And thank you at home for watching. Until next week, have a great day.